life. My job. My curse is to vanquish evil.
His name is Van Helsing.
Some say you're a holy man. Others say you're a murderer. Which is it?
It's a bit of both.
He has come to a forbidden land to battle enemies that are legend.
Oh my God.
This summer, evil has one name to fear. Hugh Jackman is Van Helsing.
Wow, almost none of that happens in this movie. It just gives you a sneak preview of the disappointment that is to come, because this was a massive disappointment, not just in terms of the movie itself, but the box office as well. And yeah, Hugh Jackman stars as Van Helsing and is in this world to rid all evil, even if not everyone agrees with him. The Vatican sends the monster hunter and his ally Carl to Transylvania. They've been sent there to the land to stop the powerful Count Dracula, played by Richard Roxburgh, when they are joined forces with a gypsy princess called Anna Valerius, played by Kate Beckinsale, who is determined to end an ancient curse on her family by destroying the vampire. They just don't know how. And, yeah, this film, you could pretty much tell from the trailer, everything bad about this movie comes out of the floodgates right away. The horrible, horrible visual effects in this movie that were bad back then, but have somehow gotten even worse 20 years later. I mean, oh my God. This is unbelievable how bad the visual effects are. I mean, these are terrible CG effects in this movie. And it's just like... And the plan was that supposedly they were going to do practical effects, but Universal basically came in and said, nope, CG it up. Because, you know, heaven forbid, you know, the greatest werewolf transformation in all of history, an American Werewolf in London, it would have been so much better if it was CG, right? Right? Hello? Anyone out there? Anyone out there agree with us? And no, we don't agree with the Universal. Like, it's like this every time too. They try to make the argument that, well, practical effects just don't pale in comparison to the CG, because that's exactly what happened with the Wolfman too. The Wolfman was going to use the remake with Benicio del Toro was going to use practical effects, but Universal basically said, no, we're going to go with CG effects because that's the way of the future. And yeah, that movie didn't end up working out either. And I'm guaranteeing you right now, this new Wolfman movie that's coming out pretty soon, watch them use CG again. Yeah, they're going to keep pretending like practical effects are no use anymore. And as that film, American Werewolf in London, has shown, over 40 years later, that shit still holds up and is still terrifying today. I'm sorry, when I see these people turning into wolves in this movie, there's nothing scary about it whatsoever. In fact, there's nothing really scary about the movie in general. This is supposed to be an homage to classic Universal monsters. This is about as big of a disappointment and a letdown of the Universal monsters as the Dark Universe was. And that was a rough stretch of movies there. Even though there was only one movie, but still, that plan they had all together to do what the MCU and DC were doing was just a horrible idea altogether. And I mean, I can't really blame Hugh Jackman for this, because honestly, it's not his fault the movie is bad. He's the only one that's really trying to hold it together, and it's just not enough to carry the load. There's only one other thing about this movie that I think really does hold up well, and that is the over-the-top Count Dracula, played by Richard Roxburgh, who, I'm sorry, like, him and his wives are probably the funniest things in the entire movie, because of just how over-the-top and how just scenery they're chewing up, and you can't help but laugh your ass off at some of it. It's like, he's supposed to be the threat, but I'm sorry, he makes me laugh out loud, and I'm pretty sure that was not the intentions whatsoever. Picture it this way. Imagine Arnold Vosloo in the Mummy movies, except even funnier. That's how crazy this gets. I mean, he's the one thing about this movie that makes me laugh considerably. Everything else is just garbage. Kate Beckinsale is a lackluster and sidekick to this. There's nothing really all that spectacular about her in this. The rest of the creatures are pretty useless. Frankenstein doesn't really do a whole lot here either. The trailer completely lies to you and says that they're a big part of the storyline when they're really not. And it's just I feel like Universal was hoping that Stephen Sommers could do the same thing he did with the Mummy movies. But the difference is between the Mummy and this is that you're tackling with all these different classic Universal monsters, and that's been Universal's biggest problem for years now with the Universal monsters. They have no idea. They've really had a hard time trying to adapt them to the modern filmmaking elements, to the modern filmmaking, and sometimes they get it right. I mean, the Invisible Man remake they did with Elizabeth Moss was actually pretty good, and I've always said, why not just get Jason Blum's company to do these, because they can make them on the cheap, they can make them look cooler, and say what you will about Jason Blum and his Blumhouse Studios, more times than not, they will make a profitable movie and a successful movie with a smaller budget. Yeah, with a smaller budget. And I think they could make this work with the Universal monsters going forward, which I think is the plan with the Wolfman. So I'm really hoping that they can make it work that way. But with this, it's just like they were really trying to make you think that this was going to be that type of a movie that was going to link into a franchise. And I'm sorry, it doesn't work when the visual effects in here are pretty terrible. They were terrible back in 2004. They have not aged well at all after all these years, and just there's nothing worthy about this movie whatsoever, except the things that I just mentioned. But yeah, it was not a good way to start the year off, and not surprisingly, the weekend box office was not great for it. I mean, excuse me, I almost burped there for a second, but the box office in general wasn't great either. Yeah, it made $51 million on its opening weekend, which isn't bad, especially when you consider, it's not Spider-Man or X-Men, but still pretty big for this time of the year. But it came crashing and burning once the word got out, and it was pretty obvious that this wasn't going to fly anywhere. And like I said, it's not Hugh Jackman's fault that the movie is terrible. It's just a bad idea that really doesn't work because of how bad the visual effects are. And you could get away with it with the Mummy movies, because those movies are intentionally supposed to be silly, over-the-top fun. This movie was trying to be too serious, and it just backfires big time in a number of different ways. And yeah, it's just not a very good movie. So yeah, avoid Van Helsing like the plague. So that was the big budget flop of the weekend. Want to see this one that nearly killed? Here's the one that nearly killed the careers of Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, and that is New York Minute.
The chase is on. Two girls on the run from this guy for the unspeakable crimes of skipping school, stealing a dog, falling, flirting, flying, and generally being a
bad girl.
New York Minute.
What you gonna do when I come for you?
Rated PG.
Snap out of it.
Starts Friday, May 7th.
That was bad. Eugene Levy, why? Like, in Bringing Down the House, when you did, you got me straight tripping boo. That was at least funny, but that was the main focus of their comedy. If that's not an indication of how bad this movie is, then quite frankly, we clearly do not need to be friends here. But this is New York Minute. This was a movie that was a very big deal when it came out, because it was Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen's first theatrical release since the first time they went to the big screen with It Takes Two back in 1995. And people were curious about that because Full House had just ended. They wanted to see how these girls would do in a motion picture, and it was okay for what it was. Nothing too spectacular, but this was the one that everyone really had their hands on. Everyone wanted to see what was going to happen, because these two were about to turn 18. They were about to get all this money from what they had done with the direct-to-video movies. Their success came from those direct-to-video movies that they made. And it was a weird time, too. Like, everybody... Like, there was literally a space out on the internet where people were just waiting for the Olsen twins to get older, to get to 18 and be like, jackpot, baby. It's just like, dude. Like, but then again, I should have probably figured that out, because the internet can be a very dark and scary place sometimes. Even today it is. But I digress. And so there was a lot of hype and expectations for this to do very well, and needless to say, it did not. And it basically ended the career of Mary-Kate of the Olsen twins as we know. I mean, Ashley basically decided to retire from film and basically went on to become a businesswoman for. She wanted to become a businesswoman for something. I can't remember what. she has like a fashion career now going on here. And Mary-Kate did try to continue making movies. I think she was in one other movie, Beastly, which came out about 7 years later, which wasn't really any better. It was basically the Twilight equivalent of Beauty and the Beast. But yeah, they really haven't done a whole lot since then, and mostly because, I mean, once Full House ended and they did It Takes Two, besides those direct-to-video movies, they really did not have any idea of what to do next. I mean, they had 3 different TV shows to try to cash in on their success, you know. There was Two of a Kind on ABC, which lasted 1 season. There was that animated show they did for ABC as well, Mary-Kate and Ashley in Action, which didn't last very long either. They even did a show for, again, ABC Family with So Little Time, which again only lasted 1 season. And I think by this point their audiences basically just grew up and wanted to see them actually do something besides just being the 2 kids from Full House, and they just really couldn't. They really couldn't get back to that where they once were before. It's funny now that the most popular Olsen right now is Elizabeth Olsen. I think she's the is she the younger sister or the older sister? Now I'm kind of curious. Younger sister by about 3 years, but yeah, you get kind of the idea here. And I haven't even talked about the movie itself, because if the movie had been better and maybe had worked on its own, maybe they could have actually had a successful career. But you saw the trailer there. You saw how bad this was. But yeah, Mary-Kate and Ashley portraying twins with opposing personalities who have a series of adventures around New York City. Doesn't that sound like all their movies pretty much? It's literally the same. That's the biggest problem with the movie. It's literally the same goddamn movie every single time, except one time they're in Hawaii, one time they're in Los Angeles, one time they're in Australia. There's a thread of a story going on in here, and this time around they've got bigger names in the cast because it's on the big screen, you know. Bigger names being Eugene Levy, Andy Richter, who are still trying to have a career after leaving Conan O'Brien, even though I think he's very funny. He did have a great show that got canceled after 2 seasons on Fox. Andrea Martin, very funny character actress. Jared Padalecki, a year and a half before he became more well-known with Supernatural. Yeah, Bob Saget's in it too, and even though he doesn't really say anything, it was the first time they were together since Full House ended, and I'm literally grasping at straws here to find anything of noteworthiness here, but I'm sorry, there's really not a whole lot there. There is, however, one thing, though. There's one thing about this movie that I think is pretty damn awesome, and you don't even have to watch the movie to see it. It's right at the very beginning of the film. That rock version of As Time Goes By, the Warner Brothers logo, did not need to go that hard, but man, that's a great opening. You could just stop the movie right there and it'd be like, well, the movie wasn't great, but at least that opening was pretty awesome. But yeah, other than that though, this is a pretty bad movie, and like I said, it's bad because it's literally the same movie that they've done in direct-to-video films for years, except this time it's in a different location. And Warner Brothers really thought to themselves that this was going to be the work on the big screen, and not everything can work that way. Yeah, High School Musical was that one exception later on down the road where people can watch it on TV. But they watch it on TV for free, and that ended up becoming a success later on down the road with the third film. But it doesn't work every single time. Like, you have to, like, if they had actually given them a movie where the Olsens can branch out, you know, do something that is not outside of their norm, do something that's completely different, do something where they show that, hey, we've got the potential to become actresses in the future, real actresses in the future, and this is just not that movie. Plus, it's very offensive, too. There's a lot of ethnic stereotyping and really awkward sexual innuendo. Keep in mind, this was made before they turned 18, so this is also kind of bordering on, maybe not blank check levels of ewiness, but with that said, it's still pretty uncomfortable at times here. And yeah, like I said, they really are not doing anything that different compared to the direct-to-video movies. You can watch the direct-to-video movies, and you can pretty much just watch the same movie here, except without the big cast they have here. And I'm looking at some of the names in here. There's some names I haven't mentioned here. Daryl Hammond's in the movie from Saturday Night Live. Drew Pinsky, Jack Osborne, H. John Benjamin is in the movie. Bob from Bob's Burgers, Archer. Simple Plan is in here. Like, the cast is there, but just there's nothing there in terms of a story that works. There's nothing there in terms of a movie that really feels like it deserves to be seen on the big screen. It's just a movie that is just really, really lacklusterly put together, and it's just like Warner Brothers looked at this and pretty much said, well, if this worked in direct-to-video form, clearly it's going to work on the big screen, and it doesn't. It just does not, and it's a shame because, you know, quite honestly, I would have liked to see what Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen would have done in their careers had they gotten, you know, handed more adult scripts. Maybe if they took that road like these child stars do, that these child stars don't usually do, go and do some of these more adult roles. Take the Drew Barrymore route, you know, take the Jennifer Lawrence route. I mean, show us what you can do. Take the Elizabeth Olsen route. I mean, show us what you can do as actresses outside of your norm. But instead, they just kind of went back to doing the same thing and hoping for the best when, unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way here. And, again, I really do feel like they could have had so much more to work with, but it just doesn't really work out in the end. And it's really a lackluster film that just feels like one of their direct-to-video movies blown up for the big screen and given a budget, given a much bigger supporting cast, and not really anything else there to really save it from being anything more than just a really lackluster film in general. And it was a massive failure for them because, like I said, it basically ended their careers in film pretty much. But they've gone on to have somewhat of a successful career in the world of fashion, so I guess it's not completely over for them. But, I mean, plus they've got that money they made from Full House. I would assume that they would have gotten that money, or maybe it's like Macaulay Culkin. Maybe he didn't get all that money back. Maybe he didn't get all that money. They didn't get all that money like he did. Didn't get all that money. But then again, even he's back in the spotlight. We've already talked about one of his movies back in 2003, and he's got another movie coming up at the end of the month that we'll get to that I thought was really good. But yeah, as you can pretty much tell, no New York Minute. There's not really much more to say about it. It's about what you expect it to be, a blown-up direct-to-video movie with a bigger budget, a bigger cast, but nothing really that good of value to it whatsoever. So yeah, we've had two big disappointments so far this weekend, but we could get to a good film finally, because last up on the list here we have Morgan Spurlock's Super Size Me.
Pounder with cheese meal. I think I'm gonna have to go supersize.
It's hard for me to watch him go through this.
It seems like you're starting to get addicted to it now.
You saw these numbers, right? These numbers are outrageous.
Unfortunately, you caused some major harm to your heart, your liver, your blood.
You're gonna die. You'll die. I want more. You gotta stop it. Supersize the American way. Getting fat, getting broke, either way you're gonna pay. Supersize me. Supersize it up. Supersize me.
Unfortunately, as of the time of recording this, Morgan Spurlock has passed away, and it's a shame because the guy was a really damn good documentary filmmaker. He made a really great Simpsons 20th anniversary special for Fox back in the day that it's really hard to find online, but I remember having it on tape somewhere, and unfortunately, I don't know how to transfer my videos to DVDs, or else I would put it up. But it's really great. I do remember the special a lot, and you know, this was a movie that really opened a lot of people's eyes. It was a movie that basically changed the game in terms of how these fast food companies do their thing. Because as you could tell from the trailer there, Spurlock's film follows a 30-day period between February and March of 2003. During which he claims to consume only McDonald's food, although later he said that he was drinking heavy amounts of alcohol too. And the film documents the drastic change of Spurlock's physical and psychological health and well-being, and explores the fast food industry's corporate influence, including how it encourages poor nutrition for its own profit and plan. And it spread a lot of debate about public eating habits, and has since come under scrutiny for the accuracy of its science and the truthfulness of Spurlock's on-camera claims. And in the movie, he eats at McDonald's 3 times a day, consuming every item on the chain menu at least once. He's claimed to have eaten about 9 Big Macs per day during the experiment, walked about 2 kilometers a day, an intake of about 2,500 kcal within a healthy, balanced diet, and more generally recommended for a man to maintain his weight. And at the end of the experiment, he's gained 25 pounds and a 13 body mass increase, increasing his cholesterol, experiencing mood swings, sexual dysfunction, fat accumulation in his liver, throwing up a lot too, and yeah, like, this guy really did take a lot of chances here. Like, look, I love myself some McDonald's every once in a while. I'll eat fast food every once in a while, but I could never do. I don't think anybody could ever do what this guy did. I mean, I can't even do the things that they do with the Nathan's hot dog competition. Like, you think I can eat all those hot dogs in 10 minutes? You're out your goddamn mind. Like, I don't know, but it's just, I don't know. Like, to me, like, I could never do anything that this guy did, but it did open the floodgates overall on how these fast food companies do their business. McDonald's literally got rid of their supersized menu not too long after this, and that's, you know, it tells you a lot when a movie like this leaves that much of a lasting impact. And, you know, I think it's a very interesting little documentary that really shows the dark sides of eating too much fast food the way that this guy does, because, yeah, he may have aggravated it a little bit more by drinking a lot of alcohol and doing other things, but it does the overall message of the film does work out in the movie's favor. It's a movie that really is not afraid to tell you the cold hard truth about eating that much fast food in a single day, and it's an engaging and invigorating watch to see. I mean, it's a really good film, and it really propelled Morgan Spurlock to another level. Like, he eventually became kind of a second banana to Michael Moore as one of the best documentary filmmakers out there. And coincidentally, Michael Moore has another movie coming that will have come out later on this year, but later on in summer. But we'll get to that one a little bit later on. But yeah, this is a really good documentary. It's one of those ones that I can't recommend enough. And especially now that he's no longer with us, it's probably now a good time to go check this movie out again, because it is something that really surprisingly has held up well over time, over the 20 years since it's come out. And it's a really good movie, man. I can't recommend it enough. It's a great documentary. It's an amazing film. Super Size Me.
We need to unleash the greatest warrior.
Immortality! Take it! It's yours! The loser will burn before nightfall. Now you know who you're fighting. Then no one else!
Troy, a Wolfgang Peterson film. Rated R, May 14th.
Well, not only do I think they succeeded, I think it's actually better than Gladiator. And I thought the first Gladiator was pretty good, even though I've had some criticisms about the second movie coming out. And yeah, but that's for another time. But Troy, Wolfgang Peterson directed this movie. This was the film that he got to make as a consolation prize when his Batman vs. Superman movie got shut down by the studio. They still found him as a viable option as a director, and I mean, why not? I mean, this is the guy that did Air Force One, The Perfect Storm, and The Line of Fire, Das Boot. If anybody can make that work, I mean, this guy can really do that. And yeah, you've got Brad Pitt starring as the leader of the soldiers in here, the title character of the main character of Achilles, and the story takes place. It's loosely based on Homer's Iliad. Homer's Iliad, and its narration of the entire story of the decade-long Trojan War, condensed into a little more than a couple of weeks, rather than just the quarrel between Achilles and Agamemnon in its 9th year. Achilles learns his Myrmidons, along with the rest of the Greek army invading the historical city of Troy, leads him into there. I said Lawrence, good word. Defended by Hector's Trojan army. The end of the film is not taken from the Iliad, but rather from Quentin I cannot read these names here. Smyrnaeus, Smyrnaeus. That post Homerica, as the Iliad concluded with Hector's death and funeral. And despite my horrible pronunciations of all of those things that I just said, this is a really damn good movie, man. It did not get the proper respect it deserved back in the day, but it was a really damn good movie. It's, like I said, it's better than Gladiator to me. I think it's a fun, epic war movie, a big, epic period piece movie that reminds me of the classic movies like Spartacus, Lawrence of Arabia, Ben-Hur. I feel like they were trying to do that with a modern generation, and this is one that worked out very well for them. At least I thought it did. And Brad Pitt's very good in the film. Eric Bana, you forget that he was in the Hulk, and you realize you see him in this, just like, man, that dude can actually act after all. Orlando Bloom, Diane Kruger, Brian Cox, Sean Bean. Of course, he's going to die in this because it wouldn't be a movie if Sean Bean didn't die in it. Brendan Gleeson, and it's a really good movie. You can tell the production value is there. Everything looks like it is indeed there. And while it doesn't stray specifically from the original Homer's Iliad, I mean, they made a great movie out of it, and I think you can make changes as long as the changes that you do make actually benefit the quality of the film in general. And I think in this case, it does that very well with this particular film. I thought it was a very good film, a great epic movie, just it's kind of a little underrated, honestly. Like I said, I think it's better than Gladiator. Good fun time. Definitely the better way to start off the summer movie season. Kind of like with this year when we had Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. That's the second movie to open up the season, and then the first one was why am I forgetting? The Fall Guy. Then again, Van Helsing isn't as big. The Fall Guy is definitely a much better movie than Van Helsing, is what I'm trying to say. But I don't know. If you can choose between The Fall Guy and Planet of the Apes to start the summer season, wouldn't you go with Planet of the Apes too? Just saying. But with that said, Troy is a really good movie, and on to the next movie, which is not a great movie, but from a guy that will have a great year in 2004 regardless, Jamie Foxx in Breaking All the Rules.
I see in your resume you went to graduate school in psychology. You're familiar with crazy people.
Mostly from living in LA. Quincy Watson had everything a guy could want.
You still going with that model?
But that's my engagement.
Until tonight.
I think she just kicked him to the curb.
You going to Paris with Tony, my best man? You somebody else right now. Girl, you an alien right now. Oh, what you want, Q?
Feels good on my skin.
Sorry about Helen, okay? But you got to pull yourself together.
I've been right.
Oh, hell no, I'm talking about it.
It started out as a letter, then it evolved into a manual on how to break up with your lover.
What were you planning on doing with that?
I'm finna,
We're going to be rich, bro.
Ladies and gentlemen, Quincy Watson, author.
Now,
I got this Betty I've been saying for 3 months now.
I was thinking of something drastic.
look here. Whoa. He's an expert in the art of breaking up.
I need a profession. If something isn't done soon, I'm going to get married.
What do you think?
And using his skills.
One day girl's gonna dump you before you get a chance to dump her. Don't jinx me. She's gonna give you those fatal words, baby.
We need to talk.
Damn, he did jinx me.
To help out a friend.
She tried to break up with me, but it's cool, because I have a plan.
I was actually here because my cousin sent me to break up with his girlfriend. She has long hair.
Cute. No show. Wanna go get something to drink, man?
I can't, man. I just met this babe. Do you remember somebody?
Really?
Halle Berry.
I mean, granted, Halle Berry's a good option, but I don't know, Gabrielle Union's looking pretty good there. I mean, what can you say about her? Hell, I'd take Jennifer Esposito in here. She's pretty good looking in here. I mean, I'd want to be Jamie Foxx or Peter McNichol in this movie, quite honestly, you know. But either way, everybody kind of wins in this movie, except for the movie itself, which is kind of about as generic of a romantic comedy as you can get. It's a movie where Jamie Foxx plays this guy who gets dumped by his fiancée, as you see from the trailer there. He pens a how-to book about breaking up and becomes a best-selling author on the subject, and not wanting his male friends to suffer the same fate, including Morris Chestnut, he gives them advice on dumping their mates, and a comedy of errors ensues, and so does the hilarity. And at least that's what they want. This movie makes you want to think it is. And the truth of the matter is, yeah, the movie really isn't all that funny. And like I said, everybody will come out of this unscathed. Jamie Foxx will have a banner year in 2004. This is just kind of a small little blemish on his track record for the year. I mean, it's kind of like with Envy with Ben Stiller. Even though Envy, I think, is much better than people let on, it definitely was a flop compared to the great year he had. We're only halfway through the year to see that. But, yeah, like Jamie Foxx, his year will get better after this. I mean, 2 Oscar-nominated movies. One will win him an Academy Award. The year's going to get better for him. This was the last one, really, that showed that where Jamie Foxx was in that. Everyone looked at Jamie Foxx as that guy, that comedian, that one of the kings of comedy. You know, he had the WB show, and then following that, after the next movie he did, like he became that dramatic actor that I don't think anybody really ever saw coming. And we'll delve more into that once Collateral and Ray come out later on in the year. But as far as this movie goes, it's your pretty standard romantic comedy. It's a very formulaic movie. The stuff that they have in here isn't really all that funny or clever. The film tries way too hard at times. I mean, Peter McNichol, I feel like, is trying way too hard to be... He's stuck in that same character he was on Ally McBeal, which is a great character on Ally McBeal, but you got, like with Ray Romano and Welcome to Mooseport, you gotta be able to branch out from your character that we know you for, best know you for, and... Kind of like with Ray Romano in that movie, Peter McNichol, I feel like, has a hard time really breaking out of that particular character. there are a couple little funny gags here and there, but other than that, though, it's a pretty lackluster movie in general. You could pretty much tell where it's going to go from there. They're going to end up on a train, they're either going to, or at an airport to get back together at the end when they have their breakup, and that's exactly what happens here. This time it's a train, like I said, but it's pretty bland and mediocre. I mean, it didn't do horrible business in general. It did make back its budget of $10 million by just about $2.5 million. So I guess it all worked out in the end in terms of the financial stability for the film. But then again, Screen Gems movies don't usually cost all that much. But yeah, like I said, it's about pretty substandard for what you expect for a movie like this. It's pretty mediocre, and yeah, you'd be better off just avoiding it and go to the real good stuff from Jamie Foxx that comes out later on in the year. So that is Breaking All the Rules. Now let's go ahead and wrap the show up by taking a look at Jim Jarmusch's latest movie, and that is Coffee and Cigarettes.
Murray. Bill Groundhog Day ghost busting ass Murray.
Who you gonna call?
I know that. Just don't tell anybody.
That's Bill motherfucking Murray is what you're trying to say there. That's the scene that everybody usually takes away from that. I mean, that's the scene that I always remember from this movie. But this is an anthology movie. It's the title of 3 different short films that are spanned out into 11 short stories, which shares coffee and cigarettes as a common thread. You got one with Roberto Benigni and Stephen Wright. There's another one there was another one with Steve Buscemi in it. There's another one called Somewhere in California with Iggy Pop and Tom Waits. There's one with Joseph Organo and Vinnie Vella. There's another one with E.J. Rodriguez. Another one with Alex Desgas and Isaac de Bancourt. I think I pronounced that right. Kate Blanchett has one. Jack and Meg White from the White Stripes have one as well. Alfred Molina and Steve Coogan have a segment. The Wu-Tang Clan, the one where Bill Murray shows up in that one. And William Rice and Taylor Mead have one as well. And definitely a lot of mixtures between My Dinner with Andre along with Diner. A lot of these is very similar films in general. And not all the segments work in general, but the ones that do stand out, like the one with the Wu-Tang Clan, the one with Alfred Molina and Steve Coogan, a bunch of other ones as well, they are very good for what they're trying to accomplish here. It kind of reminds me a lot of New York Stories, the movie where the ambition is definitely there, and the promise is there when you got 3 heavyweight directors like Martin Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola, and Woody Allen working on a movie together, but only a few of those segments really do stick out the most. And just like with this film, this one definitely has a lot of those ones that do stick out better than other ones. The Kate Blanchett one is another one I could say is good, but the one I think everyone will remember the most is the one with the RZA and the GZA, Old Dirty Bastard, Chappelle's Show, Wu-Tang Clan, and Bill Murray. But other than that, though, it's fine. I mean, it's definitely not a great film in general, but you do get your money's worth with the stuff that actually does work in here. But it's not a bad movie in general. Just most of them don't work. A lot of them don't really work, but the ones that do make it more than worthy enough to watch as a one-time watch. So yeah, not much more to say about that one. That is Coffee and Cigarettes.
Once upon a time, there was a handsome prince who set out on a quest to rescue a fair princess. For it was his destiny to climb to the highest room of the tallest tower, pull back the gossamer curtains to find her...
What? Princess
Fiona?
She's on her honeymoon.
With who?
They're off.
Come on, Shrek, we don't want to hit traffic.
On a new journey.
Wow.
To a distant land.
Yeah, you working that head.
Where Princess Fiona...
Well, this is it.
This is it. ...can show off her new husband.
Our daughter has married a monster.
An ogre from a swamp.
Well, I suppose that will be a fine place to raise the children.
It's a bit early to be thinking about that, isn't it?
Indeed, I just started eating.
Harold! Shrek!
Fiona! Duncan!
It's so nice to have the family together for dinner.
DreamWorks Pictures presents...
excuse me, I'm looking for the ugly stepsister.
Old friends.
Shrek and Donkey on another whirlwind adventure.
Whoa. And a few surprises.
Pray for mercy from Puss
Hey, bullets. Fear me if you dare.
I'm sorry, the position of annoying talking animal has already been taken.
They're coming soon to a theater near you.
This is taking forever.
Well, find a way to entertain yourself.
So as the trailer kind of gives you an indication, Shrek 2 takes place following the events of the first film, where Shrek and Donkey meet Fiona's parents, and the zealous fairy godmother, who wants Fiona to marry her son Prince Charming, plots to destroy Shrek and Fiona's marriage. Shrek and Donkey team up with a sword-wielding cat named Puss in Boots to foil her plans. And a bigger cast this time around. The new characters voiced by Julie Andrews, John Cleese as Fiona's parents, Jennifer Saunders as the fairy godmother, Rupert Everett as Prince Charming, and of course Antonio Banderas as Puss in Boots, who easily went on to become the most popular character from this, as he's got his own series of spin-off films because of his first appearance in this particular film. And Shrek 2, I mean, the original Shrek was a classic movie, but Shrek 2 really ups the ante and really ups the game on what they're able to do. I mean, it's been a couple of years since they made the first Shrek movie, and clearly the CG animation was pretty good in the first movie, but it really gets an uplift in the second film in general. But not only that, the comedy is really good too. There are still some of the most memorable, funny moments in the entire Shrek series, all in this movie. I mean, this is a movie that is clearly made for kids, but at the same time, it knows that the adults can have a good time with it as well, and they really up the ante on what the kids can do, what both kids and adults can really find funny. And there's a lot here where the humor is just so all over the place and universal, and it's just a really great film. The music is very good too. The soundtrack for this is an amazing soundtrack. I mean, the animation's great, the music is great, the writing is great, the characters are great. There really is not much more I can add to this movie. I mean, this is a film where you could tell they really put a lot of money into this to say that we want to make a movie that's even better than the original film, and sure enough, it did just that and then some. Not just from a creative standpoint, but this film went on to break several records. It did become the highest-grossing animated film of the year. It became the second largest three-day opening weekend behind Spider-Man, with over $100 million. At the time, it was the largest overall for an animated film at the time of its release. The fifth highest-grossing film of all time at the time of its release. It's DreamWorks Animation's highest-grossing film to this date. The highest-grossing film DreamWorks has ever made. It held the title for the highest-grossing animated film until Toy Story 3 came out in 2010. Received 2 Academy Award nominations. It didn't win the Oscars this time around, just like the first film did for Best Animated Feature. But of course, it led to the spin-offs, led to 2 more sequels. I'm really just killing time here because honestly, there's really not much more I can add to this, and as it already been said already. It's just a great, great movie. Really hilarious stuff. Great animation. Great characters. It's a friggin' masterpiece, man. It's definitely one of the best animated movies ever made. One of the best sequels ever made. Shrek 2, man. Shrek frickin' 2. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor and see it, because you're missing out on one of the best movies ever made. Easily one of the best movies ever made.
Explain what is causing this weather and why it takes them by surprise.
Temperature has half an hour ago. Mexican officials closed the border.
Be prepared to go live to Los Angeles.
What you see is happening now.
Behind me, that's a tornado. A twister. This is just massive. Lower Manhattan is virtually inaccessible. A wall of water coming towards New York City. Everybody,
Save as many as you can.
of course it's a Roland Emmerich directed movie. I mean, how great was the marketing for this movie? I mean, again, you know, Independence Day, Godzilla, great marketing. The movies, not so much. But yeah, you kind of have seen with these movies that I've talked about of Roland Emmerich that I'm not really the biggest fan of his. His films overall are mostly not that great. Not as great as people make them out to be. I didn't like Independence Day. I really didn't like Godzilla, but nobody really liked Godzilla. The Patriot I thought was pretty good, and so he returns to what made his career jump to the stratosphere with Independence Day. This time around, instead of an alien attack, it's basically the weather taking control of the world. This is actually based off of a book called The Coming Global Superstorm, and it depicts catastrophic climatic events following the disruption of the North Atlantic Ocean circulation, in which a series of extreme weather events used to usher in climate change and lead to a new ice age. And as you see in the trailer, massive hurricanes are happening, Tokyo is struck by a hailstorm, Los Angeles has a twister, New York is flooded and then frozen over, and chaos and some hilarity ensues. But you know what? The craziest thing about this whole thing, I've talked so much shit about Roland Emmerich's other movies, but believe it or not, I actually really do like this movie a lot. In fact, I would go as far as to say that this is probably the best overall Roland Emmerich disaster movie he's ever made as a filmmaker. I mean, this is a surprisingly really good movie, because unlike a movie like Independence Day or 2012 or Independence Day Resurgence, where he's doing these, or Moonfall, you could tell that this is the most serious disaster movie he's ever made as a filmmaker in general, and it's a film that's not filled with, like, these little bits of comedy here and there to, like, lighten the load and all that. No, for the most part, it's very much taken seriously, and a lot of great actors are involved in this. You know, Dennis Quaid. This is probably his best overall film, considering the year he had that also included, you know, The Alamo and The Flight of the Phoenix, which were big box office bombs. You got Jake Gyllenhaal following up on Donnie Darko. This is one of his first big breakout blockbuster roles. Celia Ward, who actually would become the president in Independence Day Resurgence. Emmy Rossum, who also would have a pretty big year, starring in this and then starring in The Phantom of the Opera, but then not really becoming anything too relevant until we get to her in Shameless, which is a great show, by the way. And of course, you got the great Ian Holm, who, anytime he shows up in anything, usually will turn out to be a very good film. He actually has another great movie coming up pretty soon that we'll get to in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, this is a really good movie. And it's a really good movie mostly because of how good the effects are in this movie, which they look legitimate. They look like they really could feel like something that could actually happen in real life if this actually happens there. If this happens, like if there was actually a twister in downtown Los Angeles, that's probably what it would look like, you know? If there was a massive flood in New York City, that's what it probably would look like, and, you know, it's done very well. It's really a movie where the visual effects really do come out to shine here, and it really does a good job of showing that, hey, we don't need to make these look as bad as Roland Emmerich would do later on down the road with his other movies, but like I said, it plays it very seriously for the most part. There are those moments there where it does go for a little bit of the comical effect, but nowhere near as insane as 2012 or the Independence Day movies does. I mean, they know how to keep it somewhat restrained, with a couple of exceptions here or there. Of course, one of the big things that comes to mind is when, you know, Jake Gyllenhaal and Emmy Rossum are out in the ice in New York City, and then all of a sudden the ice suddenly starts freezing over to sub-zero temperatures, and they have to run back to this warm area before they die because of the fast freezing. And you can literally hear, like, it literally sounds like the equivalent of the freezing knocking on the door, the Jaws character from Saturday Night Live, Chevy Chase's character, where it's just like, it's it's usually either Gilda Radner or Lorraine Newman or Jane Curtin is hearing the knock on the door, and they're going up, and it's just like, who is it? And then you hear Chevy Chase going, Eddie Graham, and then they open the door and they realize that that's Jaws coming up from them. I mean, it kind of reminded me of that, but that's the beautiful thing about this movie, because in a bad movie like 2012, where honestly they have just way too many comical elements to it that just are poorly put together. Like, there's lines that are literally leading to moments of disaster, and it's just like, really, we really had to do that. But in this movie, they know how to keep it restrained, for the most part. You know, it's a really good movie, man. I really had a good time with it. It's a movie it's the perfect definition of a turn your brain off, have a good time movie. It doesn't feel like your intelligence is being insulted by it by any means necessary. It's a good, fun movie. The visuals are amazing to look at. it's just a really good fun time. It's one of those movies that I was very skeptical about when it came out, but I've become to really admire this movie for what they were able to pull off. And like I said, the action looks pretty cool. The visuals look very impressive. It's a really good fun summer popcorn blockbuster movie. And really, that's what I wanted to see from Independence Day and these Independence Day resurgence in like 2012. Like just be fun movies. Don't insult our intelligence when you have to throw in lazy comedy and all these, over the top, pseudo-Christian type of things, like in 2012, the whole thing about John Cusack's character being kind of like Jesus Christ. Like there's literally an element being put into that particular film, but in this film, it really does a good job of keeping that tone down and just having a good time. And I think it's Roland Emmerich's best movie overall. I think it is a fun film. I can't recommend it enough. The Day After Tomorrow. Such a good, fun time overall. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Kate Hudson starring in Gary Marshall's Raising Helen.
Actually, are we pretty sure The Day After Tomorrow isn't happening right now?
Photographer wanted me to look up. The summer's first great comedy is here. I've inherited your sister's children.
What?
Really? Raising Helen is a laugh-out-loud comedy that will win you movies. I got a model down. Kate Hudson lights up the screen in the hilarious, feel-good comedy we've been waiting for all year.
I think that's the principal of our school. Spelled in May.
Raising Helen, rated PG-13. In theaters next.
Yeah, fuck those kids. Let's focus on Kate Hudson and her ass. I mean, you think that title card is just for the title card? No. That's the main focus of the marketing campaign. I mean, seriously, look at that. Yeah, that's literally the poster. It's just like, yeah, screw those kids. We want you to come here to see Kate Hudson and that, to quote Al Pacino instead of a woman, that great ass. I thought that was just kind of amusing to bring up here, but this is despite that, this is actually supposed to be a heartfelt comedy, Raising Helen, in which, as the trailer indicates, Kate Hudson is this, free-spirited, outgoing woman who suddenly gets a wake-up call when her sister ends up passing away, and she gets to take custody of these 3 kids, played by Hayden Panettiere, Spencer Breslin, and Abigail Breslin, in one of her early film roles, of course, following her big brother, who was already having a successful career. This was actually one of her first movies that she did, and, they basically helped to turn her life around, and essentially she ends up falling in love with John Corbett, as this pastor. She's got her older sister, Joan Cusack, involved in here. Helen Mirren's also in the film, Felicity Huffman. A lot of the Gary Marshall regulars, like, Hector Elizondo, of course, you got to have him in here, so you have Larry Miller. So the pieces are definitely there for something that could be fun in general, but it's pretty much just a typical sitcom premise to it. I mean, it really is a literal sitcom, quite honestly. Like, it's one of those things where you would have thought this would have been something that ABC probably would have had on their lineup opposite Roseanne or The Wonder Years. Like, it feels like that type of a movie. And I don't even think Disney really knew itself how to market the movie, because they actually put a short at the beginning of this from their animation studio, their kid-based animation, the animation studio that's specifically tailored to kids. They stuck this short on there called Lorenzo, which is a really good short, by the way. It's a short about this cat who gets his tail jinxed and ends up coming to life and starts causing all this chaos overall. But why attached to this particular movie is really baffling to me. It's kind of like what happened with the Daffy Duck short they did back in the 80s, The Duckstercist, which they actually put in front of that Barbra Streisand and Richard Dreyfuss movie Nuts, which was like an R-rated movie, and then they decided to stick this Daffy Duck cartoon specifically for kids on there. I mean, granted, yeah, The Exorcist is an R-rated movie, so maybe that was the thinking there, but it's kind of baffling why they decided to throw that short on there. It's a good short, by the way. It's probably the only reason I'd probably even go see this movie in the first place, is just for that. But, yeah, other than that, though, the movie itself is pretty bland, and it really devoids of the talents that Kate Hudson has. I mean, this is a woman that was nominated for an Academy Award for Almost Famous. She is a good actress overall, and proves that the whole, Nepa baby thing, like, there are some good Nepa babies out there, and even by today's standards, there's a lot of good Nepa babies out there, but Kate Hudson has proven to be a very good actress over the years, but movies like this really devoid her of showing off what her true talents really are. And it just really is a shame that this is another one of those movies that really can't capitalize on the fact that this woman was nominated for an Oscar for her work in Almost Famous. I mean, it's just another one of those movies like Uptown Girls we had the year before with Brittany Murphy, except this time around, instead of just one kid, it's now 3 of them. But I guess the most I could say about it is that it's not a bad movie in general, but it's just a film that really is not that overall great in general. It's just a mediocre comedy. Doesn't really have a whole lot of good laughs overall, and it's pretty much something you would see on the ABC family lineup, like TGIF, pretty much. But I mean, that's just my personal take on it per se. So that's Raising Helen. So let's go ahead and move on to. I'll give it this though. It's certainly a lot better than the next comedy we have here. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment of truth has finally arrived. Let us talk about the infamous Soul Plane.
Announcing the arrival of the first airline with Soul.
Welcome aboard. Thank you for choosing the Soul Plane.
From the time you arrive at the gate,
You doing good? Yes. You feel wonderful.
till the moment you meet the crew,
At ease, ladies.
we make sure you have an unforgettable flying experience.
Keep out this little safety video we put together for you. Sit tight and enjoy the flight.
Kevin Hart,
Mayday! Mayday!
Tom Arnold,
Oh, hey!
D.L. Hughley,
Damn!
Sorry. Well, I guess you can't have the lightning without the thunder.
Method Man, Monique, and Snoop Dogg.
What the hell's going on here? Well, I'm afraid of heights. This is wonderful. I love this freaky stuff like this.
This spring, the party is non-stop.
Oh, no, you can't use that phone while you're... Girl, please. No, they say that to rip you off.
Soul Plane.
I don't know what you got in there, but we gonna find out.
You want to say something? You want to say something?
Academy Award winner Monique, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, the greatest thing about this whole movie is the fact that this is a film that could have easily killed so many careers, and yet it actually helps some of these people out in general. But Soul Plane, this is another one of those movies that's in my list of the worst movies of all time, and quite frankly, it's kind of hard not to see why. I mean, we already had a year where we had the black equivalent to National Lampoon's Vacation. Now here's the black equivalent of Airplane. I guess you can pretty much tell what the plot of this movie is. Soul Plane. Why just fly when you can soar with soul? This is what MGM put out as the press synopsis for this movie, by the way. After a humiliating experience on an airplane, Nashawn Wade, played by Kevin Hart, sues the airline and is awarded a huge settlement. Determined to make good with the money, Nashawn creates the full-service airline of his dreams, complete with sexy stewardesses, funky music, a hot onboard dance club, and a bathroom attendant, played by D.L. Hughley. Departing from the all-new Terminal X in Los Angeles, a Soul Plane gives Fly a whole new meaning, taking its passengers on a maiden voyage full of comedy. Somebody at MGM greenlit this movie. MGM looked at this and said, this will totally sell. I mean, it will really sell. I mean, just everything about this movie is so wrong. And the fact that it's basically a black version of Airplane, but that it's also racist, not funny, and just downright stupid. Nothing about this movie makes any sense whatsoever. This is just an unspeakably awful movie on so many levels. It really does feel like a good majority of this movie was written by people who simply have seen the black stereotypes and decided, let's just make an entire movie just on that. You know, let's put the black terms in there. There's Tom Arnold's family, where they just come from a place called Crackerland because it's on their hat, and his daughter wants to date a black guy, wants to screw a black guy, and little things like this. And that's just the beginning, because it really just feels like a film that was made about people who do not give a fuck about how racist they can be, because they pull out all the stops in this movie, and it's just so offensively bad, it's despicable. And the only time anything Soul Plane gets involved in that actually does get a laugh really doesn't even happen in the movie. It's the fact that the Boondocks made a whole joke about it. The Boondocks consistently makes fun of Soul Plane to the point where they actually had to create a sequel within the movie that probably would have been a whole lot better than the actual movie was. That and Get Rich or Die Trying, considering that 50 Shades of Grey is involved in there. And of course, from one of my favorite TV episodes of all time, where Martin Luther King Jr. what if he didn't die? He saw what present day was like. You know, he's making that speech at the end, and then all of a sudden, while he's speaking, it just cuts away to him going, and now I'd like to talk about Soul Plane. It's just like, you could tell how much the people who made the Boondocks really hated Soul Plane. And if an animated series is parodying a movie that's actually getting more laughs than the animated series in the actual movie, there's a huge, huge problem here. I mean, we just talked about Welcome to Mooseport. You know, one of the is that joke in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. That's the only way that movie's ever going to get relevancy ever again. But and like I said before, look at what happened to the cast of this movie. You would think that the careers for this movie would have been tarnished by everybody involved here. But like, you know, Kevin Hart, he stars in the movie, and guess what happens? Does his career end? No. He actually goes on to become one of the biggest box office stars on the planet. He actually became more of a popular comedian after that, and he became such a reliable draw with films like Ride Along, Central Intelligence, the Jumanji movies. I mean, the guy, I mean, yeah, it's just one person, but then again, like I said, Monique, you know, she was on a very popular UPN show at the time, The Parkers. Surely that destroyed her career, and then I just realized that she got an Oscar for Precious, and you know, Sofia Vergara, you see her there as one of the stewardesses. She was a rising comedic actress in America, you know, after 6 years in Spanish television. And then this comes out, and then she never went on to become anything big except for a prominent Emmy-nominated role on Modern Family 2. I mean, that's just, it's amazing how this movie could have easily destroyed so many careers, and yet it doesn't. In the long run, it really actually did quite the opposite, which is amazing to think about. When you think about movies that are on this level of disaster, that could easily destroy a career easily. We were in the midst of this point when Ben Affleck's career pretty much got destroyed before he eventually made his comeback. It's just like, but the fact that people actually came back from this movie, had bigger careers than ever before, you really can't say anything else except holy shit, hell is frozen over. You can actually come back from one of the most offensively bad movies ever made. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Fire and brimstone, earthquakes, volcanoes, the dead rising from the grave, human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Enough, I think you got the point. But does that make Soul Plane any good? No. But do you think it does more good for the world than bad? You think any of these people or anybody in this movie would have still found success even if this was even after such a massive fail on their part? We will never really know for sure, but it certainly is out of the realm of possibility. But I don't know. To me, I think most people can agree Soul Plane is still an insult to cinema that really does treat black people poorly, treats good comedy poorly, it treats these actors poorly. It's a cheap joke that has no merit or value to it whatsoever after it's all said and done. It's just a really bad movie. It's in my top 20 for the worst movies ever made. That should tell you everything you need to know about this film. But yeah, that's Soul Plane, of course. So we've had a couple of bad comedies. How about a really good comedy that came out this weekend? Here is Mandy Moore, Jenna Malone, and Macaulay Culkin in the movie Saved.
A movie they can believe.
Who's down with G.O.D.?
It's really fun.
Secondhand smoke kills. I'm counting on it.
4 stars.
I know what you're looking at, Mary. And Jesus does too.
Bravely subversive.
You don't know about love.
I am filled with Christ's love.
This Friday, everyone has questions.
I still don't think he's supposed to be white.
Who has the answer?
Of course he's white.
Saved, rated PG-13, starts Friday at theaters everywhere.
I really like this movie a lot, but unfortunately, of course, we had Mean Girls the month before, and it really, I think, took a lot of the muster away from this particular film. But that should not take away from how good this movie really is. You have Jenna Malone playing a teenage girl at a Christian high school who has sex with her boyfriend in an attempt to cure him of his homosexuality. She becomes pregnant as a result and is ostracized by her schoolmates, including Mandy Moore, as well as finding friends with Macaulay Culkin, who plays a kid in a wheelchair. And he was really on a roll at this point. Like, he was really coming back. Party Monster the year before, and now this movie. And yeah, like I said before, this is a film that is really, really good. It didn't get the proper respect back then. Some people said it was a little bit it pulled a little bit too much of its punches to really go for the full satirical elements that it really could go for. But I don't know, I thought it did its job very well. I thought it was a very good film, a very funny movie in particular. It's great seeing people like Mandy Moore and Macaulay Culkin outside of their norm. I mean, Mandy Moore had been in some really bad movies up to this point, but this is a film that really does show that there is potential with her as an actress in general. I mean, she really is very good in the movie. Everybody in here works very well. I didn't mention Patrick Fugit, Martin Donovan, Mary Louise Parker, just a terrific, terrific cast in general. It's a really good movie. It's a really funny movie that a lot of people, I don't think, really get the proper respects it deserves. It's very clever, very funny stuff. It has stuff in there that just makes you laugh out loud, like you just can't. And again, it probably would have been a much bigger hit in general, even though it was considered a sleeper hit at the time, making back $9 million over about $5 million. So it did make its money back in general, but I really do think the film took a backseat because Mean Girls came out at the time, and that is a much better film in general, but this is a film that is very funny, very well made. I think it's a criminally underrated little gem that you should definitely give a chance to check out. I haven't even mentioned other people like Heather Matarazzo and Eva Murray, who of course is Susan Sarandon's daughter, who are all very good in the film. They are very funny in general. It's a really, really funny film. I can't recommend it enough. Definitely seek out Saved. It's definitely a great underrated little gem. And speaking of underrated little gems, that's what we'll end this show on with our last movie, and that is Mario Van Peebles' film, Badass.
I gotta tell you, it's right on.
Was groundbreaking.
You've been living it. You have the passion for it.
Its struggle, is it being black or green? Its self-destruction, legendary.
I'm telling the truth, brother. You take it after you want to take it.
Critics are calling Badass empowering, inspiring.
Hey, girl, put some clothes on. This ain't Soul Train.
From the director of New Jack City.
I got everything I own on the line.
But it's bigger than me. Badass. Rated R. Coming soon.
So this is a movie that's based on the struggles of Mario Van Peebles' father, Melvin Van Peebles, who we place in this movie, as he attempts to film and distribute Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song, a film that was widely credited with showing Hollywood that has a viable African-American audience exists out there, and thus influencing the creation of the blaxploitation genre. As you see in the trailer, Adam West is also in the movie, as is a pre-Office Rainn Wilson, Joy Bryant, Neil Long, Ossie Davis, Paul Rodriguez, Terry Crews, David Allen Greer, Glenn Plummer. Terrific cast in general, and Mario Van Peebles had been kind of on a downward spiral a little bit after his breakout film with New Jack City. All the movies he did after that were not really that successful, and this is probably his best overall film since New Jack City. It's a movie that you could tell is very personal to him for obvious reasons, because of course he's playing his father in the movie, and the film just is so well put together. It's a movie that is really, really well done. The acting is great. The direction overall is top-notch. Seeing all these actors in this movie that you don't usually see in these type of films anymore, like Adam West, who I thought was really good in the film, it's really impressive how he's able to what Peebles has done with this film. It's a really damn good movie. A great tribute to his father from his son. It's a film that really should have gotten a lot more attention than it did, but it felt like it kind of like what Saved, it felt like it got kind of lost in the shadows. Probably if this film could have been a strong Oscar contender if the movie had opened up around the Oscar season in general. I feel like if the movie had been out around that time period, it could have made a lot more money, could have been seen by much more people, but unfortunately, it did not make the money that I think a lot of people were expecting it to do, but it should not take away from the fact that this is a pretty damn good movie, and definitely a film that, if you're looking to see what Mario Van Peebles has done since New Jack City, this is easily his best overall film he's done since that movie. Probably the last great film he ever did in general, and you know what, go on a high note with this movie here, and I can't recommend this one enough. It's a criminally underrated film that definitely deserves a lot more attention. It's one that definitely needs to be seen. Badass, Mario Van Peebles, definitely check it out.